They thought the old man wouldn't fight back. That's what they all think, isn't it? You get some gray in your hair, a few more lines on your face. Maybe you move a little slower than you used to, and suddenly the whole world decides you're invisible, powerless, irrelevant. They thought wrong. But I'm getting ahead of myself. You need to understand what this land means to me before you can understand why I did what I did, before you can understand the rage that's been burning in my chest for the last 8 months, before you can understand why I smiled when I watched their faces go pale in that courtroom. This is Ruthless Retribution. If you believe dignity matters more than money, drop your location in the comments right now. I'm personally shouting out viewers from around the world in my next video. Let's see how far this message spreads. This isn't just a story about property. It's not just about boundaries and deeds and legal technicalities. This is about respect. This is about legacy. This is about a promise I made to the woman I love more than life itself. And I'll be damned if I let a pack of entitled vultures tear that promise apart. My name is Frank Morrison. I'm 71 years old, and this is the story of how I reminded a whole lot of people that old doesn't mean dead and quiet doesn't mean weak. Let me take you back, way back, to 1978. I was 26 years old, fresh out of the service, working 2 jobs and saving every penny I could. I'd met Martha 3 years earlier at a church social. She was wearing this yellow dress that made her look like sunshine itself. We got married in 76, had a little apartment in the city, barely enough room to turn around in, but we were happy. God, we were so happy. Martha had this dream. She grew up on a farm, you see. Her daddy had 50 acres outside of town, and she spent every summer of her childhood running through those fields, picking wildflowers, chasing butterflies. She'd tell me stories about sitting on the porch swing with her grandmother, shelling peas and watching the sunset paint the sky every color you could imagine. Frank, she'd say to me, her eyes getting all dreamy, someday I want us to have a place like that. Nothing fancy, just a little piece of land where we can breathe, where we can watch the seasons change, where our kids can run and play like I did. Our kids. We were so sure we'd have kids back then. Life had other plans, but that's a pain for another day. So I worked my rear end off, 60, 70 hours a week sometimes. Construction during the day, security at night. Martha worked too. She was a school teacher, spent her days shaping young minds and her evenings grading papers at our tiny kitchen table. Every spare dollar went into a coffee can we kept hidden in the back of the closet. It took us 3 years, 3 long, exhausting years. But in the spring of 1979, we had enough. There was this property about 15 miles outside of town, 12 acres of rolling hills covered in oak trees and wildflowers. The moment Martha saw it, she started crying, happy tears streaming down her face as she turned in circles, taking it all in. "This is it, Frank," she whispered. "This is the place." There was an old farmhouse on the property, and I mean old. Built in the 1920s, white clapboard siding that was more gray than white by the time we saw it. The porch was sagging, half the windows were broken, the roof leaked in a dozen places. The real estate agent kept apologizing for it, saying we'd probably want to tear it down and build new. But Martha, she saw something else. She saw potential. She saw history. She saw home. "We can fix it," she said, squeezing my hand so tight it hurt. "Can't we, Frank? We can make it beautiful again." I would have moved mountains for that woman. Fixing up an old house, that was nothing. We signed the papers on May 15th, 1979. I remember the date because it was Martha's birthday. 24 years old, and she got the present she'd been dreaming of her whole life. We didn't have enough money left over for furniture, so that first night we slept on the floor of that broken-down farmhouse, wrapped in blankets, listening to the wind whistle through the gaps in the walls. "I love you, Frank Morrison," she whispered in the dark. "Thank you for making my dream come true." I held her close and promised her right then and there, I would take care of this place. I would protect it. I would make it everything she'd ever hoped for. And I did. I spent the next 43 years keeping that promise. Every weekend, every vacation day, every spare moment I had went into that house and that land. I replaced the roof board by board. I fixed the porch, rebuilt it from the foundation up. I restored every window, refinished every floor, repainted every wall. Martha planted gardens. Flower gardens that bloomed from March to November, a vegetable garden that kept us in tomatoes and beans and squash all summer long. She found her grandmother's old porch swing in an antique shop, or one just like it, and I hung it on the front porch. We'd sit there every evening after work, watching the sunset, just like she did as a little girl, just like she dreamed. We never did have kids. After 5 years of trying, 5 years of hope and heartbreak, the doctors finally told us it wasn't going to happen. And that was the only time I ever saw Martha's spirit truly break. But she rallied, like she always did. She poured all that love she'd been saving for children into her students instead, into the garden, into that house, into me. This place is our legacy, Frank, she'd tell me. This is what we'll leave behind. Proof that we were here. Proof that we built something beautiful together. The years passed. We grew older, the house grew more beautiful, the gardens matured into something that belonged in magazines. People would drive out from town just to see Martha's roses, her dahlias, her butterfly garden that attracted monarchs from miles around. We made friends with our neighbors, good people, salt-of-the-earth folks who understood the value of land and hard work. John and Betty Henderson owned the property to the north. John had inherited both the land and his father's surveying business. The Thomases had the land to the east, kept horses. To the south was old Mr. Chen, who'd bought his 5 acres the same year we did and built a beautiful home for his family. We had boundaries, sure, but they were friendly boundaries. If John's cattle got through a fence, we'd help him round them up. If we needed to borrow a tractor, the Thomases would lend us theirs. That's how it worked out there. Neighbors helping neighbors, respect and community. Everything changed in 2019. Martha had been feeling tired for months, more tired than usual. She'd get winded just walking to the mailbox. I begged her to see a doctor, but she kept putting it off. "I'm just getting old, Frank," she'd say, laughing it off. "Aren't we all?" When she finally went in, they found it immediately. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4, 6 months, maybe a year if we were lucky. We got 8 months. 8 months of watching the strongest woman I'd ever known waste away to nothing. 8 months of hospital visits and treatments that made her so sick she couldn't stand. 8 months of sitting by her bedside, holding her hand, lying to her that everything would be okay when we both knew it wouldn't. She died on a Tuesday morning in March of 2020 with the spring flowers just starting to bloom outside her window. Her last words to me, I'll carry them to my grave, were, "Take care of our place, Frank. Promise me. Don't let anyone take it away." "I promise," I told her, tears streaming down my face. "I promise, Martha, I'll protect it. Always." She squeezed my hand one last time, and then she was gone. The woman who'd been my whole world for 43 years. Gone. Just like that. I don't remember much about the funeral. It was a blur of black suits and casseroles, and people telling me how sorry they were. The house felt empty without her. The garden looked wrong. Everything looked wrong. I was lost. Completely, utterly lost. My daughter, Martha's niece, really, but we'd raised her after her parents died when she was 15. Lived in Seattle with her husband and their teenage kids. Emily. Sweet, caring Emily, who'd flown in for the funeral and stayed a week, making sure I was eating, making sure I was taking my medications, making sure I wasn't going to do anything stupid. "Dad," she said, she'd called me Dad since she was 16, "you shouldn't be out here alone. Come stay with us for a while, just until you get your feet under you." I refused at first. I couldn't leave the house, couldn't leave Martha's garden, couldn't leave the place we'd built together. But Emily persisted, and eventually, after 3 months of rattling around that empty house by myself, drowning in memories and grief, I agreed, just for a few months. Just to clear my head, to remember how to be human again. The house will be fine, Emily assured me. It's not going anywhere. Take some time, heal, then come back when you're ready. I left in July of 2020, locked up the house, asked John Henderson to keep an eye on the place, and flew to Seattle with 2 suitcases and a broken heart. I thought I'd be gone 2 months, 3 at the most. I was gone a year and a half. Not because I wanted to be, because life kept happening. First, I had a mild heart attack in September. Stress, the doctor said. Grief taking its toll. They put me on medication, told me to take it easy. And then the pandemic that had started back in March was still raging, making travel complicated. Emily's husband had lost his job during the shutdowns, and they needed help with bills and the kids while they figured things out. Then Emily's youngest, my grandson Mikey, got sick. Not COVID, but bad enough that they needed all hands on deck. I called John Henderson every week. How's the place looking? Fine, Frank. Everything's fine. Don't you worry. I paid him to mow the grass, keep the weeds down. He'd send me pictures every month. The house looked the same. The garden was overgrown, but that was to be expected. Everything seemed okay. Everything was not okay. I should have known something was wrong when John's calls started getting shorter, when the pictures came less frequently, when he started dodging my questions about the property boundaries, but I trusted him. We'd been neighbors for 40 years, friends. I thought I could trust him. I flew back home in January of 2022. Emily drove me to the airport, made me promise to call her every day, made me promise to take care of myself. Dad, she said, hugging me tight, Martha would be so proud of how strong you've been. Now go home, go back to your place. I think it'll help. I thought so too. I thought going back to the house, to the land, to all those memories would help me finally process the grief I'd been running from. I had no idea what I was about to walk into. The drive from the airport to the property takes about 45 minutes. I'd rented a car, and I drove through familiar streets, past familiar landmarks, feeling something like hope for the first time in nearly 2 years. Maybe Emily was right. Maybe this was what I needed to come home, to reconnect with the place Martha and I had built together. I turned onto County Road 47, the 2-lane road that led to our property, and that's when I started to notice things were different. There were new houses, lots of them, where there used to be empty fields and scattered farms. Now there were rows of identical suburban homes, all beige and white with perfect lawns and 2-car garages. Development had come to our quiet corner of the county. Progress, I guess you'd call it. Personally, I thought it looked like someone had copy-pasted the same boring house 50 times and called it a neighborhood, but that wasn't my problem. My property was grandfathered in, protected, or so I thought. I turned onto the gravel driveway that led to my house, our house, Martha's house, and my heart stopped. There was a chain across the driveway, a brand new chain with a brand new padlock stretched between 2 brand new posts that definitely hadn't been there when I left. And hanging from the chain was a sign, a printed, laminated sign that said, "Private Property, Oakwood Estates Homeowners Association, no trespassing." I sat in that rental car for a full minute, staring at that sign, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Homeowners Association? What Homeowners Association? This was my property, my driveway, my land. I got out of the car, my hands shaking. From age, from the cold, from anger, I couldn't tell which. I walked up to the chain and examined it. Heavy duty, industrial, not something you could just break with bolt cutters from the hardware store. I pulled out my phone and called John Henderson. It rang 4 times before he picked up. "Frank, that you?" "John," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What the hell's going on? There's a chain across my driveway, some sign about a homeowners association." Silence on the other end. Long, uncomfortable silence. John? Frank, Listen, there have been some changes while you were gone. What kind of changes? This is my property. Who put this chain here? More silence. Then, Frank, maybe you should talk to the HOA board. They've got an office now in the new development. They can explain things better than I can. Explain what? John, we've been neighbors for 40 years. Tell me what's going on. I heard him sigh. The area got developed, Frank. Oakwood Estates. It's a big planned community now. They incorporated most of the properties around here into the HOA. Most of the properties? John, this is my land. I never agreed to any HOA. I know, Frank, I know, but you need to talk to them. They're saying some things about the property lines, about easements. I can't get in the middle of it. My blood went cold. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to get a lawyer, Frank. I'm sorry. I tried to tell them you'd be back, that they needed to wait, but they're not the kind of people who wait for anything. I'm sorry. He hung up. I stood there in the cold January air, staring at my phone, trying to process what I'd just heard. They'd taken my driveway, they'd chained off access to my own property, and John, my friend, my neighbor of 40 years, had let it happen. The rage started then. Just a spark at first, but it would grow into an inferno. I climbed over the chain. It wasn't easy at 71, but rage makes you strong, or stupid, sometimes both. I walked up my driveway, about a quarter mile from the road to the house, winding through the oak trees, and with every step I saw more changes. There were survey stakes everywhere. Little orange flags on wire stems marking something. Lines, boundaries. None of them were there before. The trees along the driveway had been marked too. Orange spray paint, X marks, loggers' marks. They were planning to cut down Martha's oak trees, our oak trees, the ones we'd picnicked under, the ones we'd strung lights in for our anniversary parties, the ones that had shaded us through 40 summers. They wanted to cut them down. I started walking faster. The rage was building now, burning in my chest like acid. I came around the final bend and the house came into view. My house. Martha's house. The house we'd spent decades restoring, board by board, nail by nail. And parked in the front yard, our yard, were 2 trucks. Contractor trucks, men in hard hats and high vests, walking around with clipboards and measuring tapes, pointing at the house, at the garden, at everything Martha and I had built. I'm not a violent man, never have been, but in that moment, I wanted to hurt someone. I marched up to the nearest one, a younger guy, maybe 30, cocky smile on his face. What the hell do you think you're doing? He looked up from his clipboard, surprised. Can I help you, sir? This is my property, my house. Get off it, now. His smile got wider, patronizing, the kind of smile you give to a child or a confused old man. I think there's been a misunderstanding. This property is part of the Oakwood Estates development now. We're doing preliminary assessments for the demolition. The word hit me like a punch to the gut. Demolition? Yes, sir. This structure is scheduled for removal in March. The new owner wants to start fresh. Now, if you're looking for someone, the HOA office is. I am the owner. The words exploded out of me. Several of the other workers stopped what they were doing and turned to look. This is my house. I've owned it for 43 years. The young man's smile finally faded. He exchanged glances with one of his coworkers. Sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Get off my property. Sir, if you don't leave, I'm going to have to call security. Security. On my property. My vision was going red around the edges. One of the other workers, older, gray beard, looked like he might have some sense, walked over. Jimmy, cool it, he turned to me, his expression more respectful. Sir, I don't know what's going on here, but clearly there's some confusion. Do you have documentation showing you own this property? I took a breath. tried to think through the rage. It's in the house, the deed, all the paperwork. It's all there. Then I'd suggest you get it and take it to the HOA office. They're in Building C of the new development just down the road. Sort this out with them before things get ugly. Things are already ugly, I said. But he was right. I needed my paperwork. I needed proof. I pushed past them and headed for the front door. Please be unlocked. Please. It wasn't. They'd changed the locks. They'd changed the locks on my house. I have never felt so powerless in my life. Standing on the porch, Martha and I had rebuilt with our own hands, unable to get into our own home because someone had changed the locks. The older worker came up behind me. Sir, you can't break in. Even if you do own the place, that's still breaking and entering. Go to the HOA office. Get this sorted legally. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to smash a window, to break down the door, to get my documents and prove these vultures wrong. But he was right. If I broke in, they'd have me arrested. Then I'd really be powerless. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the police. I dialed 911. When the dispatcher answered, I explained the situation. Contractors on my property, locks changed, couldn't access my own home. Sir, do you have documentation proving ownership? She asked. Yes, but it's inside the house. They changed my locks. This sounds like a civil property dispute, sir. You'll need to contact a lawyer or go through the courts. We can send an officer to make sure there's no breach of peace, but we can't force entry to private property without a court order. This is my property. I understand, sir, but without documentation and with the other party claiming ownership rights, this is a matter for civil court, not criminal enforcement. An officer can come document the situation if you'd like. I hung up. My hands were shaking with rage and frustration. A civil matter. They were stealing my home, and it was a civil matter. I turned around and looked at all of them, 5 or 6 contractors, standing around watching the old man realize how powerless he really was. I'll be back, I said, with lawyers, with court orders, with whatever I need. And when I prove this is my property, every single one of you is going to regret the day you set foot here. The young one, Jimmy, smirked. Sure thing, Grandpa? Grandpa. He called me Grandpa like I was some senile old fool who'd wandered onto the wrong property. I walked back down the driveway, climbed back over that chain, got in my rental car, and drove to the Oakwood Estates office. I needed answers. I needed to understand what was happening. I needed to find out who I was going to destroy, and I needed to figure out how to get my documents out of that house. The Oakwood Estates sales office was located in what used to be the old Miller farm. They'd bulldozed the farmhouse, a beautiful Victorian that had been in the Miller family for 3 generations, and put up a sleek modern building, all glass and steel and pretension. I parked in the visitor spot and sat there for a moment trying to collect myself. My hands were shaking, my heart was pounding. I could feel my blood pressure spiking, could feel that tightness in my chest that the doctors had warned me about after the heart attack. Take a breath, Frank. You've survived worse than this. You survived losing Martha. You can survive this. But, this felt different. This felt like losing Martha all over again. Because that house, that land, that was her. That was us. That was everything we'd built together, everything we'd dreamed about, everything we'd promised each other, and someone was trying to take it away. I got out of the car and walked into the building. The inside was all modern, minimalist design, white walls, blonde wood, uncomfortable-looking furniture that probably cost more than my first car. There were architectural renderings on the walls showing the vision for Oakwood Estates. Rows and rows of identical houses, a clubhouse, a pool, tennis courts, a golf course. And in the center of it all, right where my property should be, was a park. Heritage Park, according to the rendering, with walking trails and benches and a gazebo. They were going to turn Martha's garden into a public park. Can I help you? I turned. There was a young woman behind a desk, early 20s, Perfect makeup, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her nameplate said, Ashley Community Relations. I need to speak to whoever's in charge, I said. Of course. Are you interested in purchasing a home in Oakwood Estates? We have several models still available, and no, I need to speak to someone about my property. The farmhouse on County Road 47. Someone has chained off my driveway, and there are contractors on my land talking about demolition. Her smile flickered. Oh, you must be Mr. Morrison. So, they knew who I was? They knew? Yes. And I want answers, now. She stood up, her smile now completely gone. Let me get Mr. Peterson. He's the HOA president. One moment. She disappeared through a door behind her desk. I stood there, counting my heartbeats, trying to stay calm. Stay smart. Don't let them see how rattled you are. The door opened again. This time a man came out. Mid-40s, expensive suit, expensive haircut, expensive watch. Everything about him screamed money and arrogance. He extended his hand. Mr. Morrison, Derek Peterson, HOA president and lead developer for Oakwood Estates. I'm so glad you finally made it back. We've been trying to reach you. I didn't shake his hand. You've been on my property. You've chained off my driveway. You've changed the locks on my house. What the hell's going on? His hand dropped. The smile stayed in place, but I could see the coldness in his eyes now. Why don't we step into my office where we can discuss this privately? He led me into a corner office with windows overlooking what used to be open fields and was now streets and houses as far as I could see. He gestured to a chair. I sat. He sat behind his desk, lacing his fingers together like he was about to explain something simple to someone simple. Mr. Morrison, I understand this must be confusing for you. Don't patronize me. Just tell me what's happening to my property. He sighed like I was being difficult. Your property, as you call it, has been incorporated into the Oakwood Estates development. The HOA now has jurisdiction over the land, including access rights and structural modifications. That's impossible. I never agreed to join any HOA. That land is mine, bought and paid for. I have the deed. Actually, he said, pulling a file folder from his desk drawer, it's more complicated than that. You see, when this area was rezoned for development 3 years ago, there were several irregularities discovered in the original property surveys from the 1970s. 3 years ago, right when Martha got sick, right when I was drowning in grief and hospital bills and funeral arrangements. What irregularities? He opened the folder and pulled out a document, a survey map covered in lines and numbers. The original survey that was filed when you purchased the property in 1979 was, shall we say, imprecise. Modern GPS surveying has revealed significant discrepancies. What kind of discrepancies? Your driveway, for instance, actually crosses into what is now HOA common area. The eastern boundary of your property is approximately 15 feet west of where you believed it to be. And the northern section, where your house sits, there's some question about whether it was ever properly deeded at all. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. That's a lie. It's a matter of public record, Mr. Morrison. The county surveyor confirmed it himself. I have the documentation right here. He slid the papers across the desk to me. I looked at them. Survey documents, official looking, with the county seal. Technical language I didn't fully understand, but the implications were clear. They were claiming that significant portions of what I thought was my property wasn't actually mine at all. This is fraud, I said. I've lived there for 43 years. I've paid property taxes on every inch of that land for 43 years. The county has never had a problem with my property lines before. Previous administrations were unfortunately lax in their record keeping. We're simply correcting historical errors. Historical errors. They were calling my life's work, Martha's Dream, a historical error. So what are you saying, that I don't own my own house? He leaned back in his chair. What I'm saying is that the situation is complex. The good news is we're prepared to make you a very fair offer for the remaining portion of the property that is legally yours. I'm not selling? Mr. Morrison, be reasonable. You can't even access the property legally anymore. The driveway is on HOA land. The house itself may be partially on disputed territory. Fighting this will cost you hundreds of thousands in legal fees. And frankly, at my age, what? The words came out like acid. At my age, I should just roll over? Let you steal my property? The property my wife and I spent our entire lives building? Your wife is deceased, isn't she? He said it so casually, like Martha was just a footnote. I'm sorry for your loss, but surely you can see that maintaining a 12-acre property at your age alone isn't practical. Our offer would give you more than enough to buy a nice condo somewhere, closer to medical facilities, closer to your family, let you enjoy your retirement without all this burden. Burden. He called Martha's dream a burden. How much? I asked quietly. He smiled, thinking he'd won. $300,000, cash. We can close in 30 days. $300,000 for 12 acres of prime real estate in the path of development, for a house that Martha and I had poured our souls into, for the garden where Martha's ashes were scattered, for the place where I'd promised to protect her legacy. I stood up. Go to hell. His smile vanished. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm not selling. Not for $300,000, not for $3 million. That land is mine. That house is mine. And I will fight you with every breath I have left in my body. He stood up too, and now the mask was completely off. The friendly developer act was gone. What was left was cold and calculating. Mr. Morrison, let me be very clear. We own this development. We own the county planning board. We own the zoning commission. We have lawyers on retainer who will drag this out until you die of old age. You cannot win this fight. Watch me. You're making a mistake. Our next offer won't be nearly as generous. There won't be a next offer. Now get off my property. Tell your contractors to get off my property and take that chain down, or I'll sue you for unlawful restriction of access. He laughed, actually laughed. Sue us? With what money? You're living on Social Security and a small pension? Do you have any idea how much litigation costs? He'd investigated me. He knew my financial situation. He'd done his homework, figured out exactly how to squeeze an old man who was alone and vulnerable. I'll find a way, I said. Good luck with that, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. But let me give you some free advice, old man. This isn't 1979 anymore. You can't just plant a flag and claim land belongs to you. This is the modern world. We have rules, regulations, systems, and you're not part of the system anymore. You're in the way, and things that get in the way of progress get removed. I wanted to hit him. God help me. I wanted to wipe that smug look off his face with my fist. But I'm not a young man anymore, and assault charges would only make my situation worse, so I turned around and walked out. I sat in my rental car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, shaking from rage, from fear, from the sheer overwhelming impossibility of what I was facing. They were right. I didn't have money for lawyers. I was 71 years old, living on Social Security and a small pension. My savings had been wiped out by Martha's medical bills. I had maybe $20,000 in the bank. That might buy me a few hours with a decent attorney against a development company with unlimited resources and politicians in their pocket. I didn't stand a chance, but I'd made Martha a promise, and I keep my promises. I drove into town to the county clerk's office. If they wanted to play games with property records, I needed to see the original documents, the real documents, the ones Martha and I signed in 1979. Even if I couldn't get into my house right now, there had to be copies on file. The clerk's office was in the old courthouse, a beautiful stone building that had been there since the 1800s. Inside was all dark wood and high ceilings and the smell of old paper. I loved that smell. It smelled like history, like permanence, like things that lasted. I went to the counter. The clerk was an older woman, maybe 60, with reading glasses on a chain around her neck. Her nameplate said Margaret Chen. Chen. Like Mr. Chen, my old neighbor to the south. Can I help you? She asked. I needed to see property records, original deeds from 1979. I gave her the address. She typed something into her computer, frowned, typed some more. That property is part of the Oakwood Estates development now. The records have been updated to reflect the new survey. I need the old records, the original deed from when I purchased it. She looked at me over her glasses. Are you the owner? Yes. Frank Morrison. I bought that land 43 years ago. Something changed in her expression. Recognition, maybe? Morrison. You're the one they've been talking about, the holdout. The way she said it, I couldn't tell if she was sympathetic or contemptuous. I'm not a holdout. I'm the legal owner of property that someone is trying to steal. She looked around like she was checking if anyone was listening. Then she leaned forward and lowered her voice. Mr. Morrison, I'm not supposed to say this, but something isn't right with those new surveys. I've been working here for 35 years. I know every property record in this county. The original survey for your land was solid. I processed it myself. My heart jumped. Then why does their survey say something different? Because someone paid a surveyor to say something different, and then paid the planning commission to accept it, and then paid the county board to approve the rezoning. She paused. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying that's what it looks like from where I'm sitting. Can you help me? Can you pull the original records? She hesitated. I could see the war going on behind her eyes. I could lose my job. Please. That land is all I have left of my wife. They're trying to take it away from me, and they've locked me out of my own house. I can't even get to my personal copies of the deed. She looked at me for a long moment, and then she sighed. Give me 10 minutes. I'll see what I can find. She disappeared into the back. I waited, watching the clock on the wall tick by. 10 minutes, 15, 20. She came back carrying a file box. Old and dusty, the kind they don't make anymore. She set it on the counter between us. Original deed filed May 15th, 1979. Original survey conducted April 1979 by Henderson Surveying. She paused. Albert Henderson, John Henderson's father. Before John took over the business, John Henderson, my neighbor, his father had surveyed my property, which meant John knew what the real boundaries were. He'd probably seen his father's original work. The survey clearly shows 12 acres with boundaries exactly where you think they are. Your driveway, your house, everything is well within the property lines. There's no ambiguity here, Mr. Morrison. This is a clean deed. Then how are they claiming otherwise? She pulled out another document, a new survey dated 2 years ago. This is what they submitted to the Planning Commission. Different surveyor, different measurements, conveniently reduces your property by about 4 acres and makes your driveway and half your house encroachments on what they're calling common land. I stared at both documents. The difference was obvious, even to my untrained eye. The boundaries were completely different. This is fraud, I said. That's a legal determination I can't make, she said carefully. But I can make copies of the original documents for you, for a small fee, of course. How small? How about free for an old friend of my uncle's? He spoke very highly of you, said you were one of the good ones. Mr. Chen. She was Mr. Chen's niece. I heard about what happened to your wife, she continued quietly. I'm so sorry. She was a lovely woman. My uncle still talks about the flowers she gave him for his wife's funeral. I remembered that. Mrs. Chen had died about 5 years ago. Martha had cut armfuls of roses and dahlias and taken them over to him, had sat with him while he cried, holding his hand, just being there. Thank you, I said, my voice rough. The copies would mean everything. She spent the next hour making copies of everything. The original deed, the original survey, title history, property tax records showing I'd paid taxes on the full 12 acres every single year since 1979. Photographs from the original survey showing the boundary markers. When she was done, she had a file folder 2 inches thick for me. "This should help," she said. "These certified copies are just as valid as the originals for legal proceedings. But Mr. Morrison, I have to warn you, they have a lot of power, a lot of money. They've done this before." "Before?" She nodded. "This is the third development they've done in this county. Each time there were properties in the way. Each time they found ways to remove the obstacles. Usually they just buy people out, but sometimes..." She trailed off. "Sometimes what?" "Sometimes people fight, and sometimes those people end up losing anyway. Bankruptcy, legal fees that bury them, mysterious problems with their property, vandalism, break-ins, fires. Nothing that can be proved, but enough to make people give up." The message was clear. They played dirty. "I'm not giving up," I said. She smiled sadly. "My uncle said you were stubborn. He meant it as a compliment." She slid the folder across to me. "Good luck, Mr. Morrison. You're going to need it." I took the folder and left, my head spinning with information and fear and determination. I had proof. I had the original documents, certified copies that would hold up in court even without access to my house. Now I needed a lawyer who would take my case. That turned out to be harder than I expected. I spent the next 3 days calling every attorney in town. The first 2 wouldn't even let me finish explaining my situation before they said they didn't take cases against Oakwood Estates. Conflict of interest, they said, which meant Peterson's company either used them or paid them to stay out of the way. The third lawyer listened to my whole story, looked at my documents, and then quoted me a retainer of $50,000. "I don't have $50,000, I said. He shrugged. "Then I can't help you. Cases like this take years. Hundreds of billable hours. You're looking at $250,000 in legal fees, minimum, if it goes to trial." The fourth and fifth lawyers all said variations of the same thing. Too expensive, too complicated, too risky. The sixth lawyer, a young woman fresh out of law school with a tiny office above a pizza shop, listened to everything, looked at my documents, and then said, "Mr. Morrison, I'd love to help you, but I don't have experience with property law at this level. You need someone who specializes in land rights, someone who's dealt with corporate developers before. I could try, but honestly, I'd probably just lose your case and waste your money." At least she was honest. I was running out of options and running out of money. The motel I was staying at was $70 a night, and I couldn't stay there forever. On the fourth day, I got a call from Emily. "Dad, what's going on? You haven't called in 3 days." I've been worried sick. I'd been avoiding her calls, didn't want to worry her, didn't want to admit how bad things were, but I was drowning, and pride wasn't going to save me. I told her everything. The chain across the driveway, the contractors, Peterson and his threats, the fraudulent survey, my failed attempts to find a lawyer. She was silent for a long time when I finished. "Dad," she finally said, her voice shaking with rage. "They can't do this. They can't just steal your property. They can if I can't afford to fight them. Then we'll find a way. We'll mortgage the house. We'll take out loans. "No," I said firmly. "Emily, you have 2 kids in high school and college coming up. I'm not dragging you down with me. That's our home, Dad. That's where Mom lived. That's where you guys..." Her voice broke. "We can't just let them take it." "I'm not giving up," I said, "but I need to be smart about this. Rushing in without a plan will just make things worse." We talked for another hour. She made me promise to keep calling, made me promise not to do anything rash, made me promise I wouldn't give up. I promised. But honestly, I didn't know how I was going to keep that promise. That night, lying in my motel room staring at the water-stained ceiling, I thought about Martha, about the promises I'd made to her, about the life we'd built, and I thought about Derek Peterson's smug face, his certainty that I would lose, his contempt for an old man who dared to stand in the way of his profits. I'd been in tough spots before. Vietnam, working 3 jobs to make ends meet. Martha's illness. I'd survived all of it. I could survive this. But survival wasn't enough. I didn't just want to survive, I wanted to win. I wanted to wipe that smug look off Peterson's face. I wanted him to understand that old doesn't mean weak and quiet doesn't mean broken. I wanted justice. But first I needed a plan. I spent the next morning at the county library. Free internet, free coffee, and nobody bothering you. I researched Oakwood Estates, Derek Peterson, property law, adverse possession, easements, survey fraud, everything I could find. The more I learned, the angrier I got. Peterson's company had done this before, just like Margaret Chin had said. 3 other developments in 3 different counties. And in each one, there were news articles about disputes with existing property owners, disputes that always seemed to end with the property owners selling out or being forced out. In one case, an elderly couple had fought for 2 years before their house mysteriously burned down. Insurance paid out, but it was ruled an accident. They took the insurance money and left. Peterson built a golf course where their house had been. Accident, sure. But there was something else I noticed going through all these articles. Every single time Peterson had won because of technicalities, survey disputes, easement claims, zoning loopholes. He never won on the merits. He won by burying people in paperwork and legal fees until they couldn't afford to fight anymore, which meant if I could find the right lawyer, someone who knew how to fight this kind of battle, someone who wasn't afraid of Peterson's money and connections, I might have a chance. But where the hell was I going to find someone like that? I was still at the library, 6 hours deep into research, when I found it. A news article from 5 years ago about a property rights case 3 counties over. A developer tried to use eminent domain to seize a family farm. The family fought back and they won. Not just won, they humiliated the developer in court, exposed fraudulent surveys, and the developer ended up paying a massive settlement plus legal fees. The lawyer who'd represented the family was named Sarah Brennan. I searched for her. She had a small practice about 2 hours away, specializing in property rights and land use law. Her website said she'd grown up on a farm, understood the importance of land to working families, and wasn't afraid to take on corporate bullies. It was 8 p.m., too late to call. I waited until 9 the next morning, my heart pounding, and dialed her office. A woman answered, "Brennan Law, how can I help you?" "I need to speak to Sarah Brennan about a property rights case." "Miss Brennan is in court today. Can I take a message?" I hesitated. This might be my only shot. "Tell her it's about Oakwood Estates. Tell her they're trying to do to me what they did to the Hendersons and the Carters and the Milfords. Tell her I have proof it's fraud, but I'm running out of time." There was a pause. "What's your name, sir?" "Frank Morrison." "Hold, please." She put me on hold. I waited, listening to generic hold music, counting my heartbeats again. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then the music cut off. A new voice came on the line. Sharp, professional, no nonsense. "Mr. Morrison, this is Sarah Brennan. Tell me everything." I told her all of it. Martha, the house, coming home to find chains and contractors, Peterson's threats, the fraudulent survey, my inability to find a lawyer who would fight, certified copies I'd obtained from the county clerk. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was silence. "Mr. Morrison," she finally said, "can you meet me at your property tomorrow at 10 a.m.? They've chained off the driveway. Then we'll climb over it. I want to see what we're dealing with. And bring every document you have. Those certified copies from the clerk will work perfectly for now." "Does this mean you'll take my case?" "This means I want to see if you have a case. If what you're telling me is accurate, and if the documents support it, then yes, I'll take it. And Mr. Morrison, yes, I hate bullies. And Oakwood Estates has been bullying people in this state for too long. If we can prove fraud, I won't just win your property back. I'll make them pay for what they've done." For the first time in a week, I felt something like hope. "Thank you," I said, my voice rough with emotion. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We have a long fight ahead of us, but if you're willing to fight, so am I. I hung up and sat there in my motel room staring at the phone. I had a lawyer, a good lawyer, a lawyer who wasn't afraid. Now the real battle could begin. The next morning, I met Sarah Brennan at the chain across my driveway. She was not what I expected. Mid-30s, maybe, wearing jeans and work boots and a flannel shirt like she was ready to survey the property herself. She had bright red hair, pulled back in a ponytail, and sharp green eyes that took in everything. "Mr. Morrison?" She extended her hand. Her grip was strong. "Miss Brennan, call me Frank. Call me Sarah. Let's take a look." We climbed over the chain. She had no trouble, made me feel every one of my 71 years, and walked up the driveway. She stopped every few feet, taking pictures with her phone, examining the survey stakes, making notes in a small notebook. "They've marked everything for demolition," I said. "The house, the trees, the garden." "I see that." Her voice was grim. "How long have you lived here?" 43 years. My wife and I bought it in 1979. We spent our entire lives restoring it. She looked at me. "Your wife?" "She died in March of 2020, cancer." Something softened in her expression. "I'm sorry." We continued up the driveway. As we came around the bend and the house came into view, she stopped. "Oh," she said softly. "Frank, that's beautiful." It was beautiful. Even abandoned for a year and a half, even with contractor's marks all over it, it was still the house Martha and I had built. White clapboard siding that we'd repainted every 5 years, the porch with its carved railings that I'd restored board by board, the garden overgrown but still recognizable, still showing the bones of Martha's design. "My wife's dream," I said. "She grew up on a farm. This was her way of going home." Sarah walked around the property for an hour, taking hundreds of photos, making pages of notes. She examined the foundation, the fences, the property markers. She checked the survey stakes against her phone's GPS. Finally, she came back to where I was sitting on the porch steps. "Okay," she said. "Here's what I see. You were right. This is fraud. The survey stakes they've placed don't match the original property boundaries by a significant margin. I'll need to bring in my own surveyor to confirm, but based on GPS coordinates and the county records, your original survey was accurate. This new survey is fabricated." "Can we prove that?" "With the right expert witnesses? Yes. It'll take time and money, but yes." She sat down next to me. "But Frank, I need to be honest with you about what you're facing. Oakwood Estates has deep pockets. They'll drag this out as long as they can. File motion after motion, delay after delay. They'll try to bury us in paperwork and bleed you dry. I don't have much money," I admitted. "Maybe $20,000. That's not enough for a case like this. We're looking at expert witnesses, surveyors, court fees, filing fees. Could easily run to $100,000 or more." My heart sank. "So I can't fight them?" "I didn't say that." She turned to look at me. "I work on contingency for cases like this. You don't pay me unless we win. When we win, I take a third of whatever damages were awarded, plus my actual costs, filing fees, expert witnesses, things like that. But you won't owe me attorney fees unless we win." "Damages? If we can prove fraud, and I think we can, we don't just get your property back. We can sue for damages, emotional distress, punitive damages. Depending on how badly they've screwed up, we could be talking millions. The word seemed impossible. "But here's the catch," she continued. "Contingency means I'm betting on you, betting that you're telling the truth, that the documents are real, that you can handle the stress of a long legal battle. I need to know you're in this for the long haul, because if you give up halfway through, I lose everything I've invested." I looked at the house, Martha's house, the promise I'd made. "I'm not giving up," I said, "not ever." She smiled. Then we have a deal." She stood and extended her hand again. "I'll start filing paperwork tomorrow. First thing we need is an emergency injunction to stop any demolition or construction on the disputed property. We'll argue that there's a legitimate ownership question that needs to be resolved before any changes are made. Will a judge grant that? If I present the evidence right, yes. The county has to protect property rights even in disputes. They can't just let a developer bulldoze a house while ownership is in question. For the first time since I'd come home, I felt like maybe, just maybe, this was going to be okay. We walked back down the driveway together. At the chain, she turned to me. Frank, one more thing. These people play dirty. I've dealt with them before. They'll try to intimidate you. They might try to buy you off again with a better offer. They might try to dig up dirt on you. Whatever they do, you call me immediately. Don't engage with them directly. Let me handle it. Understood. And Frank, we're going to win this, I promise you. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe her so badly. As I watched her drive away, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Not hope, exactly, but something close. Determination. They wanted a fight? They were going to get one, and this old man still had some bite left in him. Sarah filed the emergency injunction the next day. Within a week, we had a hearing scheduled. I'd never been in a courtroom before. Not as a plaintiff, anyway. I'd served on a jury once, back in the 80s, but this was different. This was my life on the line, Martha's legacy on the line. The hearing was held in the same courthouse where the county clerk's office was. Judge Patricia Hernandez presiding. Sarah had warned me about her, fair but no nonsense, didn't tolerate games, expected both sides to come prepared. We sat at one table. Derek Peterson sat at the other with 3 lawyers, 3, all in expensive suits, all with leather briefcases, all looking at me like I was an annoying insect that needed to be swatted. The judge entered, we all stood. She took her seat, adjusted her glasses, and looked at the paperwork in front of her. This is a motion for emergency injunction filed by Frank Morrison against Oakwood Estates Development LLC and the Oakwood Estates Homeowners Association. Ms. Brennan, you're representing the plaintiff? Sarah stood. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Whitmore, you're representing the defendants? One of Peterson's lawyers stood. Tall, silver-haired, the kind of lawyer who probably charged $1,000 an hour. Yes, Your Honor. James Whitmore of Whitmore, Jackson and Associates. Let's hear it. Ms. Brennan, make your case. Sarah stood and walked to the podium. She didn't have notes, didn't need them. Your Honor, my client, Frank Morrison, is a 71-year-old veteran who has owned and maintained property at 4247 County Road 47 for 43 years. He purchased the property legally in 1979, has paid property taxes on the full 12 acres every year since, and has clear, undisputed title to the land. In January of this year, Mr. Morrison returned from an extended absence to find his property had been chained off, his locks changed, and contractors preparing to demolish his home. The defendants claim that new survey data shows his property boundaries are different from what was originally recorded and that significant portions of what he believed was his land are actually HOA common area. Your Honor, this is fraud, plain and simple. The original survey, conducted in 1979 by a licensed surveyor and filed with the county, clearly establishes the property boundaries. We have the certified copies from the county clerk, the original documents on file. The new survey conducted by the defendants contradicts these boundaries in ways that are physically impossible unless the land itself moved. The defendants are attempting to steal my client's property through falsified documents and legal manipulation. They've already restricted his access to his own home, changed his locks, and begun marking structures for demolition. Without an immediate injunction, irreparable harm will be done. Mr. Morrison's home, a historic farmhouse that he and his late wife spent decades restoring, will be destroyed. And, Your Honor, once it's destroyed, no amount of money can bring it back. She paused, letting that sink in. We're asking for a temporary injunction preventing any construction demolition or alterations to the disputed property until ownership can be properly established. We're also asking that Mr. Morrison's access to his home be immediately restored. These are reasonable requests designed to preserve the status quo while the court determines the truth. She sat down. The judge looked at Peterson's lawyer. Mr. Whitmore, your response? Whitmore stood, smooth and confident. Your Honor, this is a simple property dispute that Mr. Morrison is attempting to escalate into something it's not. The facts are straightforward. Modern surveying technology has revealed errors in the original 1979 survey. This isn't fraud, it's progress. GPS and laser surveying are far more accurate than the methods used in the 70s. The new survey was conducted by a licensed surveyor, filed properly with the county, and accepted by the Planning Commission. It shows that Mr. Morrison's property is smaller than he believed, and that certain structures, including his driveway and portions of his house, encroach on what is now designated as HOA common area. We've made Mr. Morrison a generous offer to purchase his remaining property. He refused. That's his right, but he doesn't have the right to claim land that isn't his, and he certainly doesn't have the right to block a legally approved development project that will bring jobs and tax revenue to this county. As for the injunction, it's unnecessary. We're not scheduled to begin demolition for 6 weeks. There's plenty of time for Mr. Morrison to pursue his claims through the normal legal process. Granting an injunction would cause significant financial harm to our client and delay a project that's already been approved by every relevant authority. He sat down, looking pleased with himself. Judge Hernandez looked at both lawyers, then at the documents in front of her. The courtroom was silent, except for the hum of the ventilation system. Ms. Brennan, the judge finally said, you're claiming the new survey is fraudulent. Yes, Your Honor. That's a serious allegation. Do you have evidence? Sarah stood. We have the original survey, which shows clear and consistent boundary markers that were physically placed in 1979. We have 43 years of property tax records showing Mr. Morrison has paid taxes on 12 acres, which the county accepted without question. We have photographs from 1979 showing the boundary markers in place. And, Your Honor, we're prepared to bring in our own licensed surveyor who will testify that the new survey contains mathematical impossibilities. The boundaries they claim would require the physical features of the land to have shifted by hundreds of feet, which is geologically impossible. The judge looked at Whitmore. Mr. Whitmore, Your Honor, we stand by our survey. If Ms. Brennan wants to challenge it, she can do so in a full trial. But one side claiming the other side's evidence is wrong doesn't justify an emergency injunction. Actually, the judge said dryly, it does if there's sufficient evidence of fraud or irreparable harm, and Ms. Brennan has presented a prima facie case for both. I saw Whitmore's confident expression flicker. The judge looked down at her paperwork again. I'm looking at these two surveys side by side. Mr. Whitmore, your survey shows Mr. Morrison's eastern boundary is 15 feet west of where the original survey placed it. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. That's what modern surveying equipment revealed. And you're claiming the original survey was simply wrong? Yes, Your Honor. Given the limitations of 1970s surveying technology, the original survey was conducted by Henderson Surveying. The judge interrupted. Albert Henderson. I knew Al Henderson. He surveyed half the properties in this county, and I never once heard of him making a 15-foot error. He was meticulous. She paused. And you know what else is interesting? According to these documents, there's a drainage ditch on the eastern boundary of Mr. Morrison's property. Been there since before 1979. It's marked on the old county maps from the 1950s. The original survey places Mr. Morrison's boundary at this ditch, which makes sense. Natural features are often used as boundary markers. Your new survey places his boundary 15 feet west of the ditch, which means you're claiming that for 43 years, everyone, including the county, which maintains a ditch, was wrong about where it was located. Whitmore started to respond, but the judge held up her hand. I'm also looking at aerial photographs from the county assessor's office. There are oak trees along Mr. Morrison's western boundary that were clearly full-grown in 1979. Your survey shows these trees as being on HOA property, but Mr. Morrison has documentation showing he's been maintaining those trees for over 40 years. Property tax records confirm he paid taxes on the land those trees are on. Mr. Whitmore, the more I look at this, the less your survey makes sense. And when something doesn't make sense, it's usually because it's not true. The courtroom was dead silent. I could see Peterson whispering urgently to Whitmore. "I'm granting the injunction," Judge Hernandez said, "effective immediately, no construction, demolition, or alteration of any structures on the disputed property. The chain across Mr. Morrison's driveway will be removed within 24 hours, and his access to his home will be fully restored. Any locks that were changed without his permission will be changed back at the defendant's expense. Furthermore, I'm ordering both parties to engage in mediation within 30 days. If mediation fails, we'll proceed to a full trial. But gentlemen," she looked directly at Peterson's legal team, "I strongly suggest you take mediation seriously, because if this case comes to trial and I find evidence of survey fraud or property theft, the penalties will be severe. Am I clear?" "Yes, Your Honor," Whitmore said, his voice strained. "Good. We're adjourned." The gavel came down. I sat there, stunned. We'd won. We'd actually won. Sarah was grinning. "That went well?" "Well, she destroyed them. Judge Hernandez doesn't like bullies any more than I do. Come on, let's get you access to your house." We walked out of the courtroom. Derek Peterson was in the hallway, surrounded by his lawyers, his face red with anger. When he saw me, his eyes went cold. "This isn't over," he said. Sarah stepped between us. "Mr. Peterson, you should really stop talking. Every word out of your mouth right now could be used against you." "I don't care. That old man is going to regret this. We're going to bury him in legal fees until what?" Sarah's voice was sharp. "Until you bankrupt him? Intimidate him?" "Because I have to tell you, that sounds a lot like harassment and possibly racketeering. Keep talking and I'll add it to the list of charges." Peterson's lawyers pulled him away, whispering urgently. But the look he gave me as he left promised this was far from over. "Don't worry about him," Sarah said. "They're rattled." "That's good. Rattled people make mistakes." 24 hours. Later, the chain across my driveway was gone. I drove up to my house, for the first time in weeks. Someone had removed the locks and replaced them with new ones. An envelope taped to the door contained keys and a tersely worded letter from Peterson's lawyers stating they were complying with the court order under protest. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It smelled stale, dusty, but it was still there, still standing. The floors Martha and I had refinished, and the kitchen where she'd baked countless loaves of bread, and the living room where we'd spent winter evenings by the fireplace. I walked through each room, touching walls, checking windows, making sure everything was still there. In the bedroom, I found our wedding photo still on the dresser. Martha in her white dress, me in my ill-fitting suit, both of us young and hopeful, and so in love. "I kept my promise," I said to her photo. "I'm fighting for this place, for us." I felt like she was there with me, like she approved. That night, I slept in my own bed for the first time in over a year. And for the first time since Martha died, I didn't have nightmares. But the fight wasn't over, not by a long shot. The mediation Sarah had mentioned took place 3 weeks later. We met at a conference room in a downtown office building. Neutral ground on one side of the table, me, Sarah, and her associate, a young lawyer named Marcus who specialized in property law. On the other side, Peterson, Whitmore, and 2 other lawyers whose names I didn't catch. The mediator was a retired judge named Harrison. Stern-looking man, in his 70s, gray beard, sharp eyes. He explained the process. Each side would present their position, and he would try to facilitate a resolution. "Gentlemen, Ms. Brennan," he began, "mediation is about finding common ground. It's about compromise. I urge you both to approach this with open minds and realistic expectations. Mr. Whitmore, would you like to begin?" Whitmore launched into a lengthy presentation. Charts, maps, technical surveys. He spent 45 minutes trying to convince us that their survey was accurate and mine was wrong, that they were being generous by offering to buy me out, that fighting would cost everyone time and money. When he finished, Harrison turned to Sarah. "Miss Brennan?" Sarah opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. "Your Honor, sorry, Mr. Harrison, I'm going to keep this simple. We have the original deed. We have the original survey. We have 43 years of property tax records. We have aerial photographs spanning 4 decades. All of this evidence consistently shows that Mr. Morrison owns 12 acres with clearly defined boundaries. The defendants have one survey, one recent survey that contradicts 43 years of documentation. And when we hired our own surveyor to examine their work, do you know what he found?" She pulled out another document. "Mathematical errors, inconsistent measurements. Reference points that don't exist. Their survey is so full of mistakes that no reputable surveyor would have signed off on it, which raises the question, how much did they pay their surveyor to commit fraud?" Whitmore shot to his feet. "That's a baseless accusation." "Is it?" Sarah didn't raise her voice. "Because we subpoenaed the surveyor's records. He was paid $50,000 for a survey that should have cost $5,000. And interestingly, he received a second payment of $100,000 the same month he filed his report from an LLC that just happens to share a registered agent with Oakwood Estates." The room went dead silent. Harrison looked at Whitmore. "Is this true?" That payment was for consulting services unrelated to..." "So it is true." Harrison's voice was ice cold. "Mr. Whitmore, I've been mediating disputes for 20 years. I've seen a lot of shady tactics, but outright bribery of a surveyor? That's a new low. We dispute Miss Brennan's characterization of..." "I'm sure you do." Harrison closed his notebook. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to make Mr. Morrison an offer. A real offer, not the insulting lowball you tried before. And if you don't, I'm going to recommend to Judge Hernandez that this proceed immediately to trial, and I'm going to include in my report that I found evidence of possible fraud." Peterson finally spoke. "How much do you want?" Sarah didn't hesitate. $5 million, plus legal fees and costs, plus a written admission that the survey was erroneous. Plus, you abandon all claims to his property and correct the county records to reflect the accurate boundaries. That's insane, Peterson exploded. The property isn't worth half that. You're right, Sarah said calmly. The property is worth maybe $500,000 on the open market, but you're not paying for the property. You're paying for attempting to steal it. You're paying for harassment. You're paying for emotional distress. You're paying for fraud. And trust me, if we go to trial, we'll ask for $10 million. We'll never pay that. Then we'll see you in court. Sarah stood. Come on, Frank, we're done here. We walked out. As we reached the door, Harrison called after us. Ms. Brennan, a word? Sarah and I stepped back into the room. Peterson's team had left. Harrison looked at us seriously. I shouldn't be telling you this, but that was the most clear-cut case of fraud I've seen in mediation. You're going to win at trial. Probably win big. I know, Sarah said. The question is whether they know Peterson's arrogant. He might actually be stupid enough to go to trial. I hope he does, Sarah said. We'll tear him apart. Harrison smiled grimly. Give them a week. They'll be back with a better offer. Pride makes people stupid, but fear makes them smart. And right now, they should be very afraid. He was right. 5 days later, Sarah called me. They want to talk settlement, just their lawyers and us this time. What are they offering? I don't know yet, but they asked for the meeting, which means they're worried, very worried. We met at Sarah's office. Just Whitmore this time. No Peterson, no team of lawyers, just one very tired-looking attorney who clearly didn't want to be there. Ms. Brennan, Mr. Morrison. He sat down heavily. Let's not waste time. We're prepared to offer $2 million to settle this case. Mr. Morrison keeps his property. We correct the county records, and both sides sign NDAs agreeing not to discuss the case publicly. $3 million, Sarah said immediately, plus legal fees and costs, plus a written statement from Oakwood Estates admitting the survey was erroneous, and the NDA has a carve-out. Mr. Morrison can discuss the case if asked directly. What you did needs to be public record, and the settlement filing will be public anyway. We can't do that. Admitting the survey was wrong opens us up to liability and other developments. That's your problem. You're the ones who committed fraud. Whitmore rubbed his face. Mrs. Brennan, my client, is prepared to be generous, but $3 million is less than what you'll pay when we win at trial. We're asking for $10 million in damages, plus we're filing complaints with the state surveying board and the state bar against everyone involved. This is going to follow Oakwood Estates forever. $3 million to make it go away, that's a bargain. They negotiated for 2 hours. In the end, we settled for $2.5 million, plus Sarah's legal fees and costs, plus the written admission that the survey was erroneous, plus correction of all county records. The NDA stayed, but with the carve-out, allowing me to discuss the case if asked directly. And the settlement had to be filed with the court, so it would be public record. When Whitmore left, Sarah turned to me with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. Frank, we did it. We actually did it. $2.5 million. I couldn't wrap my head around it. After my fees and costs, which will be around $600,000, you'll walk away with about $1.9 million. Sarah said, you can live very comfortably on that. Fix up the house. Hell, fix up the whole county if you want. But it wasn't about the money. It never was. When do we sign? I asked. 2 weeks. They need to get the funds together and draft the settlement agreement. Then we meet at the courthouse, sign in front of Judge Hernandez, and it's done. Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I kept expecting something to go wrong, for Peterson to back out, for some new legal trick, for the whole thing to fall apart. But it didn't. On a Thursday morning in late April, I walked into Judge Hernandez's courtroom for the final time. Sarah was there. Whitmore was there. Peterson was there, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. The judge reviewed the settlement agreement, asked if we both agreed to the terms. We both said yes. This case is settled and dismissed, she said. Mr. Morrison, you have my congratulations. And Mr. Peterson, her voice turned cold, you have my warning. If I ever see another case like this in my courtroom, the penalties will be far more severe. Am I understood? Yes, Your Honor, Peterson muttered. Good. We're adjourned. And just like that, it was over. Peterson left without looking at me. Whitmore shook Sarah's hand, professional courtesy, and left. I stood there in the empty courtroom feeling, I don't know what I felt. Relief, victory, exhaustion, vindication. Sarah put her hand on my shoulder. You did it, Frank. You beat them. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. Maybe. But you're the one who had the courage to fight. A lot of people would have just taken the first offer and walked away. I made a promise to my wife. I know, and you kept it. She smiled. What are you going to do now? Go home, I said. Fix the place up, make it beautiful again, the way Martha wanted it. That sounds perfect. The money hit my account 3 days later. $1.9 million after Sarah's fees and costs. The largest amount of money I'd ever seen in my life. And the first thing I did was call Emily and tell her everything. She cried. Happy tears, angry tears, relieved tears all mixed together. I'm so proud of you, Dad, she said. Mom would be so proud of you. Thanks, sweetheart. What are you going to do with the money? Fix the house, set up college funds for the kids, invest the rest, maybe travel a little. I paused. But mostly I'm just going to live there, take care of the place, keep my promise. Can we come visit? The kids would love to see the house again. It's been so long. Of course. You're all welcome anytime. It's your home too. We made plans for them to visit in the summer. I wanted Emily and the kids to see the place restored, to see that Martha's dream was safe. The second thing I did was hire contractors. Real contractors, not the vultures Peterson had sent. I had the house inspected, repaired, upgraded. I had the garden professionally restored, brought in a landscape architect who specialized in historic gardens. Within 6 months, the place looked better than it had in years. I found the old photographs Martha had kept, pictures of us working on the house, pictures of the garden in its prime, pictures of our life together. I had them professionally restored and framed, hung them throughout the house. This wasn't just a house anymore. It was a memorial, a testament, proof that we'd been here, that we'd built something beautiful, that we'd loved each other and loved this land. But the best part, the part that still makes me smile, came about 3 months after the settlement. I was at the hardware store picking up supplies for the west fence when I saw him, Jimmy. The young contractor who'd called me Grandpa that first day, the one who'd smirked while I stood there powerless on my own property. He was in the plumbing aisle looking at pipe fittings. He glanced up and our eyes met. Recognition flashed across his face, then something else. Shame, maybe, or fear. He opened his mouth like he was going to say something, maybe apologize, maybe try to explain. I just looked at him, held his gaze for a long moment, let him see that I remembered, that I hadn't forgotten. Then I turned and walked away without a word. I didn't need an apology from him, didn't need him to acknowledge what he'd done. The look on his face when he realized who I was, that I'd won, that I'd beaten the people he worked for, that was enough. That same day, my phone rang. It was Margaret Chen from the county clerk's office. Mr. Morrison, I thought you'd want to know. The state surveying board just revoked the license of the surveyor who did Oakwood Estates' fraudulent survey. He's been banned from practicing in the state. Good, I said, and there's more. 3 other property owners who were involved in disputes with Oakwood Estates have come forward. They're filing their own lawsuits now using your case as precedent. Your fight opened the door for them. I felt a surge of satisfaction. I wasn't just protecting my own property. I'd stop Peterson from doing this to anyone else. There's one more thing, Margaret continued. Derek Peterson resigned as president of the HOA last week. The development company is being investigated by the state attorney general for fraud, and there's talk of criminal charges. Your case started a domino effect, Mr. Morrison. You did more than save your home. You exposed a pattern of corruption. After we hung up, I sat on my porch for a long time thinking about everything that had happened. 2 weeks later, I saw it in the local newspaper. Developer faces criminal investigation. The article detailed how the state attorney general was investigating Oakwood Estates for survey fraud, bribery, and racketeering. My case was mentioned as the catalyst. 3 other property owners were quoted, telling their stories of how Peterson's company had tried to steal their land. The article ended with a quote from the Attorney General. No company, no matter how wealthy or well-connected, is above the law. Property rights are fundamental, and we will prosecute anyone who attempts to defraud homeowners. I cut out the article and kept it, not for me. For Martha, proof that I'd kept my promise. They'd thought I was old and powerless, thought I wouldn't fight back, thought I'd just roll over and let them steal everything Martha and I had built. They were wrong. I'm not going to lie and say I'm not angry anymore. I am. Every time I think about how close they came to destroying this place, my blood boils. Every time I think about Peterson's smug face, about that young contractor calling me Grandpa, like I was nothing, about John Henderson's betrayal, Yeah, I'm still angry, but it's not a bitter anger anymore. It's a satisfied anger. The anger of someone who fought back and won. See, here's what people don't understand about getting old. They think gray hair means you're weak. They think wrinkles mean you're confused. They think a slow walk means you're powerless. But you know what old really means? It means I've been fighting battles longer than most of these people have been alive. It means I've survived things that would have broken them. It means I've learned patience, strategy, when to fight, and when to wait. Young people think power is about being loud, being aggressive, being the biggest bully in the room. Old people know better. Real power is about being smart, about knowing the system, about documentation and patience, and picking your battles carefully. I didn't beat Peterson by being stronger than him. I beat him by being smarter, by having better evidence, by finding the right lawyer, by being willing to wait for justice instead of demanding immediate satisfaction. And most importantly, I beat him because I had something he didn't have, a reason to fight that mattered more than money. He wanted profit. I wanted to keep a promise to the woman I loved. Guess which one was stronger? It's been 8 months since the settlement now. The house is fully restored. The garden is thriving. Emily and the kids came to visit in July, spent 2 weeks here, and I watched my grandkids run through the same fields Martha used to dream about. Watched them pick wildflowers and chase butterflies just like she did as a child. Emily cried when she saw the garden. "It's exactly how Mom wanted it," she said. "You did it, Dad. You saved it." "We saved it," I said. "All of us. Your mom's dream is still alive." I've even started hosting the occasional visitor, historians interested in old farmhouses, gardening clubs who want to see Martha's designs, a few local kids who want to learn about restoring old buildings. Mr. Chen comes by once a month to sit on the porch with me, and we talk about the old days, about his late wife and Martha, about how much the area has changed. I like the company, but I'm also content alone, sitting on this porch, watching the seasons change, remembering. John Henderson never apologized. His cattle operation did go under about 6 months after my settlement, not because of anything I did, but because he'd mortgaged everything to expand right before beef prices dropped. He sold his land to a young family who wanted to farm sustainably. They're good people. They wave when they drive by. I don't wave back. Some betrayals don't get forgiven. Some bridges, once burned, stay burned. Maybe that makes me harsh. Maybe that makes me unforgiving. I don't care. I'm too old to pretend I'm not angry about betrayal. I'm too old to play nice with people who showed their true colors. Martha was the forgiving one, the kind one, the one who always saw the best in people. I'm the one who remembers, who keeps score, who makes sure justice gets done. Together, we balanced each other. She softened my edges. I gave her strength when she needed it. Without her, I'm all sharp edges, all stubborn determination, all fight and no forgiveness. And maybe that's what I needed to be to win this battle. You want to know the real lesson of this story? It's not about property law or surveys or legal strategy. Those are just details. The real lesson is this: never count out the old folks. We've been fighting battles longer than you've been alive. We've survived things you can't imagine. We know how to be patient, how to be strategic, how to wait for the perfect moment to strike. You think you can intimidate us because we're slow, because we need glasses, because we can't lift what we used to? Go ahead and think that. It'll make it easier when we destroy you. Every scar we carry, we earned. Every wrinkle on our face is a story of survival. Every slow step is calculated, measured, purposeful. We're not weak, we're experienced. And experience, in the end, beats youth and aggression every single time. Peterson learned that. Learned it the hard way, the expensive way. Lost money, lost face, lost his reputation. Now he's facing criminal charges. All because he thought an old man wouldn't fight back. I hope it haunts him. I hope Every time he drives past this area, he remembers. Remembers the old man he tried to bully. Remembers how badly he underestimated me. Remembers that age is not the same as powerlessness. My daughter Emily asked me once if I'd ever move to Seattle now that I have the money. "Dad," she said during their visit, "you could buy a nice place near us. Be close to the grandkids, not have to worry about maintaining this big property all alone." And I told her the same thing I always tell her. This is my home. This is where I belong. This is where Martha is. I scattered her ashes in the garden under her favorite rose bushes. On quiet nights, I swear I can hear her voice in the wind through the oak trees. On summer afternoons, when the butterflies are thick in the garden, I swear I can see her smile. This isn't just a house. It's not just land. It's where my life happened, where I loved and was loved, where I built something that mattered, where I kept my promises. I'll leave when they carry me out. Not before. Besides, I've got things to do. The west fence needs mending. The gutters need cleaning before winter. There's a leak in the barn roof I've been meaning to fix. Martha's rose bushes need pruning next month. A man needs purpose, needs work, needs something to take care of. This house, this land, it takes care of me by giving me that purpose. Some people retire and fade away. Nothing left to live for. Not me. I've got 12 acres that need constant attention. A house that's always got some project waiting. A garden that changes with every season. I'll never run out of things to do, which means I'll never run out of reasons to get up in the morning. And honestly, that's worth more than any settlement. Worth more than any amount of money. Peterson tried to take away my purpose, my reason for existing. He tried to erase me, make me irrelevant. Instead, he gave me one last great fight, one last chance to prove I still mattered, one last victory to be proud of. So in a way, I should thank him. In a way. But I won't. Because I'm petty like that, and I've earned the right to be petty. I'm 71 years old. I've worked hard my whole life. I've served my country. I've buried the love of my life. I've fought battles that would have broken lesser men. I've earned the right to sit on my porch and enjoy my victory without pretending to be gracious about it. They thought I was old and powerless. They were wrong, and that's all that matters. So if you're young and you're listening to this story, here's what I want you to remember. Treat old people with respect, not because we're fragile or pitiable, but because we've survived things you can't imagine. We've learned things you haven't learned yet, and if you push us too far, we know how to push back. And if you're old and you're listening to this story, here's what I want you to remember. Don't let them write you off. Don't let them treat you like you're irrelevant. Don't let them steal what's yours just because they think you're too old or too tired to fight back. You've still got fight left in you, I promise. You just have to find it. I found mine in a promise to my wife, in a house we built together, in a garden she loved, in a dream we shared. Find yours, whatever it is, and fight for it. Because that's what life is, really. One long fight to hold on to the things that matter, the things you've built, the people you've loved, the promises you've made. And sometimes when you're lucky, when you're stubborn enough, when you're smart enough, you win. I won. And let me tell you, victory tastes sweet, especially when everyone counted you out, especially when they thought you were too old, too weak, too irrelevant to matter. I mattered, I matter, and I'll keep mattering until the day I die. And when that day comes, and it will sooner rather than later, at my age, I'll die in this house, in my bed, surrounded by everything Martha and I built together. I'll die knowing I kept my promise. I'll die knowing I fought the good fight. I'll die knowing I won, and that's more than most people can say. So this is my story, the story of an old man who refused to go quietly, who refused to let a bully win, who stood his ground and fought back and emerged victorious. This is the story of how Frank Morrison reminded the world that old doesn't mean dead and quiet doesn't mean weak. This is the story of how I protected Martha's dream. And it's not a story about revenge, not really. It's a story about justice, about standing up, about refusing to be erased. It's a story about keeping promises even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. It's a story about love that survives death, about legacy that matters, about building something that lasts. And most of all, it's a story about remembering that age is just a number, that the fight isn't over until you decide it's over, that you're never too old to stand up for what's right. They thought I was finished. They were wrong. I'm sitting on my porch right now, watching the sun set over my land, my 12 acres, my home. The butterflies are dancing through Martha's garden. The oak trees are swaying in the evening breeze. The house stands solid behind me, a testament to everything we built together. This is mine, all mine, protected, preserved, and paid for in every sense of the word. And no one will ever take it away. I kept my promise, Martha. I kept my promise. And I'd do it all over again in a heartbeat, because that's what love means. That's what commitment means. That's what promises mean. You fight. You stand your ground. You refuse to give up. Even when you're old, even when you're alone, even when everyone counts you out, you fight. And sometimes if you're lucky and stubborn and just angry enough, you win. The end.